Hey, and welcome back everyone to Fix It with Jerry. That's me. Today we're going to dive right into a garage door that's not opening up. We can hear it make noise, but nothing's happening. So let's check it out. All right, we can go ahead and assume a few things. For one, we know we have power. For two, we know the switch works. And for three, we know the motor's trying to turn. We can hear it. So if you haven't already done those troubleshooting steps, I would go ahead and do that before you go any further. In our case, we can tell that the motor's turning, but the drive assembly is not. This is a screw type, and the screw's not moving even though the motor's on. If you have a belt or a chain-driven system, you can use the same thought process, but your parts are going to be different.
Without taking anything apart, just looking up top here, I can see there's a piece of plastic laying here. And it turns out this is the coupling that holds the motor shaft and the drive shaft assemblies together. You can see it's splined in the center, and this one is cracked. So right there you can see the splines for each shaft, and they're not making connection without this coupling, so that's obviously our problem. This piece probably just got fatigued over time with the weight of the garage door, and it's split open. So it's marked 25C0020. It's 8 spline. It's a little over 1.5 inches in length and 1 1/8 inches in diameter. As far as I know, it fits a lot of the LiftMaster screw type garage door openers, but definitely check and make sure this is compatible with your model as well. If so, I'll drop a link below so you can find it easily. Alright, so I called all over town, finally found one place that stocks this part, and they've got it in stock today. So it's cheaper online, but I like to support local business when I can, and they have it now. That's the most important part, so I'm gonna go grab it. Score on the new replacement part. This one doesn't have any markings, but they're identical. I matched them up, and check this out. USA, baby. So looking at the top of the garage door opener assembly, we have 2 bolts here that are gonna have to come off for this whole track to come loose, and it's hinged down here on this end. Then we'll probably wind up taking these bolts off that hold the garage door opener assembly to the ceiling, just to give us enough kind of swing to get room in here for these splines. These splines are going to have to separate in order for us to get that coupler in, so we're going to need to take all that stuff apart. And I'm going to start by disconnecting the power. Also, notice the position of the inner and outer trolley, or sometimes called the trolley and carriage. This one's been disconnected via the manual release, so I know there's going to be some adjustment involved at the end. If this difference is extreme, you'll actually need to turn the drive shaft manually to get these to line up. You also want to be very careful not to exceed the garage door limitations when you put this back together and run it for the first time, so keep the remote handy. More on that later. You'll need a handful of tools to get this done. That includes a set of wrenches for whatever size hardware you have, a ratchet, a handful of sockets, a screwdriver for that adjustment I was just talking about. I'm going to use a drill to make this process faster, and of course you'll need a stepladder. Okay, so we have everything loosened up here. I've loosened these bolts. I've loosened these, so we have a little bit of play here. I didn't take anything all the way off because it's still supporting the weight of the garage door opener, except for these 2 bolts here. I did have to take those out to get enough movement here on the track. I also removed these wires from the channel that they're tucked into. That just holds them in place. But to get this thing to move and to keep from damaging the wires, you'll want to pull them out of that channel. They actually go to your sensors. Now this coupling can be a little tricky to get in. You'll have to create some space first and get one side to drop in followed by the other. So I'm just going to try to put the motor side in first. As soon as I get the splines lined up, there we go. And then I should be able to turn the shaft and get the splines to line up on the drive side, and it should drop in as well. Now I can get the track lined up, put the hardware back in, and the rest can start going back together. Once you have everything put back together, make sure all the hardware is tight and secured before you plug the power back in and run the garage door a few times. Now, as I mentioned before, you'll want to keep this remote handy so you don't exceed the limits of the garage door opener. And if you had to run your drive screw in or out, then you'll probably need to make some adjustments either way. You'll need to locate the adjustment screws. This model is easily accessible and they're marked right on the side. You'll want to turn these screws slowly, a little bit at a time, so that you don't exceed the limits of the garage door opener. Once you're satisfied with the adjustment, check the safety sensors one last time to make sure they still work, and you should be done.
Another honey-do list item checked off the list. This is the part where I ask you guys to click on buttons and all that stuff down there, like me on the Instagram and the Facebook and the Snapchat. Those. If you found this content helpful, share it with somebody, and if there's something around the house that you need fixed, you can't find any information for, I don't know what to do, send me a message or comment and I will do my best to make a video on it. Thanks for tuning in and we'll see you next time. Can't even do it. Yeah.